Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, worshippers of all ages, welcome to YouTube. My name is SeaRaptor, and today we're back with a battle report from the bridge of Tier 7 Premium American cruiser, USS Atlanta. Now, as you've no doubt surmised by looking over this ship, what is with the palm trees? That's right, this is one of the first games I played right after obtaining the new fancy summer beach camo thing that's available in the summer sale right now for Atlanta. I couldn't resist. I don't normally go for vanity camos. Alright, maybe I'm exaggerating. But something like this was just too much fun. I had to grab it. And so here I am spawning into the north side of Haven. In a very odd matchmaking game. Look over the team lineups real quick. You're going to see 2 carriers on each side and only 1 destroyer on each side. That is never a comfortable feeling when you're the destroyer player. So as we roll out here of our spawn area, you see the Shiratsuyu, our friendly Shiratsuyu, kind of trying to snuggle up to me, and I'm going to slow down a bit right here to give him the opportunity to kind of come up back under the AA bubble of myself and some of these other ships, as he is of course being hunted by double rocket planes very early. But one of the things that I love about Atlanta is that unlimited defensive fire charge, because it allows you to do things like that. I just annihilated that squadron. It disappeared. It vanished in a puff of black smoke, and it was glorious. And one of the things I love about this ship is that because you have unlimited charges of defensive fire, you basically can just spam it anytime you feel like you need it, right? You don't have to worry about running out. It's not something I have to go, well, am I going to need this later? Nope. Atlanta don't care. She just pushes that button every time she gets the opportunity. The other nice thing is that I have this ship rigged with all of the various buffs that will reduce the cooldown on that defensive fire. So my defensive fire on Atlanta lasts for 48 seconds and has a cooldown of just over a minute. Now, in most battles that you're going to run into at Tier 7, that means that if I wipe out a carrier squadron or he gets a couple of drops off or something, by the time he comes back, my defensive fire is probably just about up. Working the north side here of the sea cap, there we go. The enemy Gajimata is spotted, and as I start to take him under fire here, I'm not doing this very well. I'm failing to lead him quite right. It takes me a minute before I realize, hey, wait a second. This Shiratsuyu in front of me is doing me a solid, right? He's going to start right there, putting down the smoke. Ladies and gentlemen, team play does exist in World of Warships. Now, I have to be a little cagey, right? I'm not actually in the smoke, which means that as soon as one of these planes kind of wanders over where he can see on the back side of that smoke, then it won't matter, right? The smoke cover won't be doing me any good. So you'll see me accelerate a bit, try to get back in here. But one of the things that I don't want to do with this ship is I do not want to go sailing any farther forward with all those big battleships and everything else up there, because Atlanta is squishy, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the opportunity here this smoke affords, and I'm going to get flipped around a bit and point my bow pointed the other way. But I'm trying to stay close enough that I can still provide some air cover to everybody that's over here, and you know, maybe some radar cover into this cap. Beating up on this Devonshire pretty good as he sails across the cap. He took a Citadel from one of the battleships earlier, so he's getting pretty low over there. But we don't quite finish him off before he escapes around the island. Now, about this time, I noticed that C has some cap points on it. There's a very small sliver of cap points up there. And you'll notice in a minute, our Perth off to my port side here will go off the board. And when that happens, C will start to tick up again pretty quickly. So I know that the Gajimata has not left the cap. And so I am intentionally reversing now to try and get the cap into my radar bubble. Of course, there goes the Perth. You see C start to cap up very actively. And I'm having a hard time judging quite where this Gaja is, so I put my radar up a little too early here. He's still outside of the range. He's on the extreme southern edge of that cap. You can, of course, the smoke makes it pretty clear where he probably is. Yep, there's the shells. There's the radar. Finally got him lit. And now I can start doing what I should be doing in Atlanta, which is assassinating destroyers, radaring them, just generally making their life hell. Because that is one of the best things that this ship does. Radar, because I popped the radar too early, I don't keep eyes on him for too long. But I do change my direction before a couple of battleship salvos come in. You see down there the Richelieu and the Massachusetts both wanted a piece of me. Neither one got it because I had flipped my engines around. It was already moving forward. by the time their shells landed. But we did succeed in driving off the Gajah. I can't keep him off the cap forever, and I know that. But I figured, well, you know, maybe it's worthwhile just continuing to just let him know that I'm over here and be a nuisance. He'll be back eventually. My team on the other flank doing a pretty good job. We've got this Colorado and this Bismarck up here kind of helping me hold the line as at least one of the enemy carriers continuing to harass the Shiratsuyu. I put up the defensive fire. I got a little bit of that squadron. I got a piece of him as he looped around after one strike. He's coming back in for another one here, and he is going to get a really solid hit there on the Shira. There's not much I can do that with the island cover, preventing my AA from doing what I wish it would be doing. But we do manage to you know, steal a couple of planes off a subsequent run and cause him to rethink some of his positional choices with his planes. He makes a big loop to the south with those planes, does come back as the Shira, still working the top end of the cap. Looks like, I think he smokes up over there. I don't remember exactly, but we're trying to help out here, you know? There's the Gajah back in the cap circle, doing what Gajah does. Now, one thing I want to point out, and I've started doing a lot more of this on Atlanta, and honestly on a lot of these spammy cruisers, is I'm ripple firing. I've had some long conversations with people here on YouTube, and even in my chat channel on Twitch, talking about the values of ripple fire versus salvo fire. There is a belief, and this is anecdotal, guys, so don't take this as gospel, but there is a non-zero number of players who are of the opinion that when you ripple fire, your shells are overall more accurate, depending on how you're aiming them and so on, than versus when you salvo fire. Now, I won't pretend that I have all the answers. I've been playing this game a long time, and I've seen things go both ways. But I feel like on a ship that's, you know, that's built around spamming shells like Atlanta, that there might be some validity to this argument. And so I've reached a point, you might have seen me do this on stream recently or whatnot. I've just been spamming the hell out of Atlanta shells. I just hold down the left mouse button and I steer. Right? I steer and I try to lead, which is what you're seeing me do here. I'm trying to maneuver, lead the shells, and avoid return fire all at the same time. Now, what that means is you're going to miss a lot of shells, right? You're going to miss a lot of shells. But you're in Atlanta. You don't care, right? Like, I mean, come on. Like, shells, you're not getting charged by the shell here. And you have plenty of ammo. You can't ever run out of ammo. So does it matter? Nah, it don't matter. Have fun. Spam away. And so I'm doing something here that I've started kind of playing a little more of, and it's something that you would never have convinced me a few weeks ago that I would have ever attempted, and it's literally kind of open water, spammy, offensive fire Atlanta, right? At this position, you know, I'm not super happy with this position. I would much rather be up providing some anti-aircraft fire for the Bismarck and the Shira. And I suppose I probably could have done that. I look at that New Mexico's position. I could have maneuvered up to where he had no shot, but then I still would have been dealing with the Bear and the King George V and the Richelieu you see down in their cap circle. So by backing off like this, I've kind of lengthened my life in the game. And I'm assisting this Colorado and providing these guys a reason to not continue pushing. Now, the Colorado is doing a pretty good job. You see that nice hit on the New Mexico. He doesn't need a ton of help to dissuade this New Mexico. Partly because this New Mexico has no idea how to angle that ship and avoid some of the damage that he's eating. But I figure slow battleship, max range, essentially max range. I'm going to get up here and try again and do my thing. And so, left mouse button time, baby. Just let it go. It's raining shells. Taste the rainbow, as Lord Zath would say. Do get a fire here, but the Colorado ends the conversation before I can get significant damage out of it. The Indianapolis, then, dealing with me and the Colorado, has decided that discretion is the better part of valor. He does not wish to be the only thing up here by himself, so he is bailing out. And I don't blame him. I would do the same thing in his shoes. Indianapolis is incredibly fragile, and Colorado will absolutely do horrible things to him if he gets the opportunity to. Now, I'm continuing to fire. This is incredibly bad range for me. Like, this 13.3 is my max. He's right at the edge. The odds of me landing much, especially, you know, him retreating and me firing at him from this angle is not very good. And of course, you see most of those shells falling astern, really not getting anything out of them. Now, the Shiratsuyu did finally go down, and the Bismarck has pushed through the sea cap very aggressively. It's cost him the majority of his HP. He is still hanging in there, barely. He's going to take the King George V with him in a moment. Now that's really going to open up this flank. Okay, you see the Indianapolis is there, and we've sniffed out the Ranger down there on the map border. It's not quite in my render range yet, and the Furious was last spotted kind of in that general direction behind him. So for the next few minutes, this is going to be a pretty boring game, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue moving down the 7-8 line here. I'm going to help try and keep this Indianapolis lit. I'm not really doing a very good job because the planes are what's really spotting him right now. But I'm also not going to waste my time firing at him. I don't want him to know where he is. This is intentional. Technically, he's about a half kilometer inside my range right now, but sailing directly away from me like that, my shells are just not really going to have a good chance. However, as he starts to turn, you see there, he's changing his aspect. He's coming out. Now he's kind of cutting across. Now he's in a range where it's worth investing the time to pull the trigger and see if I can land some shells on him. But I'm still not really leading these very well. However, I do manage to get... I only needed one shell because the enemy carrier, our friendly carrier, excuse me, did land some torpedoes on him. I still took 6K through the bow from his last AP salvo. That's how squishy Atlanta is. Up by 4 ships, up by 600 points here, just barely over the halfway mark of the match. This game is already winding down. So, you know, you're probably asking yourself, Raptor, why this is not that exciting a game. Why are you showing me this? Well, I'll tell you, the main reason I wanted to show you this was I feel like there's a lot of... I feel like Atlanta is one of these ships that people expect certain things out of, and that when they don't get it, they feel cheated or they feel disappointed. And I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions right now. There is, for example, a popular misconception that Atlanta's AA is garbage. And I will concede that there are situations where that does feel the case, because almost all of her DPS is in her outer AA bubble, okay? And planes spend a lot of time in that bubble, you're really relying on the flak bursts to do the job. However, between BFT, AFT, which you're going to take BFT and AFT on this on your Atlanta captain anyway, okay? All the various defensive fire consumables that upgrades, the new flag, right? I feel like there is a lot there to like, but with how quickly you can have that defensive fire back up. The other thing is that it's widely believed that Atlanta is the ship that you park up next to an island and it just spams shells all day. And yes, that is a valid way to play this ship. However, it's not the only way you can play this ship. If you try to hold her at longish range, a lot of times you can get away with things that, well, you wouldn't otherwise normally be able to in terms of survivability and keeping this ship alive. Down here at the end, I do get to farm some cheap damage against both carriers who, like so many carrier players in the game these days, have forgotten that they are an aircraft carrier and not an airfield. So I do rack up about an extra 50,000 damage here, so slaughtering some more of these planes as we go, and then the game is over. And it's just a nice little game to remind everybody, hey, Atlanta exists, Atlanta can be really good, and Atlanta is one of those ships that I love to play because she is a team ship. She is a ship that wants to hang around her teammates and help them with AA and help them with radar and leech off their smoke, right? So if you've got an Atlanta on your team, I admit randoms are a dice roll, right? But if you've got an Atlanta on your team, consider that ship gets better when everybody around it pays attention and helps her out a little bit. And of course, the Atlanta has to do a little bit of help there as well, shooting at, radaring destroyers, helping slaughter planes, and doing what she does best as well. So Atlanta is really a really good team multiplier, which means that in randoms, well, maybe you don't know what you're going to get, but she is still a ton of fun to play. And if you don't own one, well, that's on you, but I definitely recommend it. She is just crazy fun. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed that one. Be safe out there, wash your hands, and I'll catch you next time.